Hello everyone, welcome to Melissa's Musings. So we're talking about money mindset today, and we're going to use the cars that I've had and the history of my vehicles as an example of a money mindset. So I'm going to dive right into the story, and for those of you who join in or who are watching on the replay, thank you so much for joining. And as you guys trickle in, you'll start to hear, you'll be entering at different parts of the story, but I'm just going to start. So my very first car was a complete POS. It was the car that my dad had literally done a landscaping project for. It was sitting dead in someone's driveway. And he was like, hey, I'll take a few $100 off your landscaping if you give me that car. This thing I named Black Beauty because it was very oxymoronic. This thing was black, yes, but incredibly rusty, like to the point where you could barely recognize that it was black. That thing chugged along. Actually, its brakes went one time while I was driving it. That thing had seen it all. Got caught in a flash flood with me, started floating down the street. Black Beauty was my very first car, and it cost me $500. And when the brakes went, I remember my immediate thought, I was like, just a year or two into driving, that old clunker Black Beauty had really gotten me from point A to point B for quite some time. And I had really been planning on running it into the ground and thought to myself, this is the car that I'm going to take to college. Like, this is going to be my jam. Black Beauty and I, we go. And when the brakes went, Black Beauty had to go. And I remember thinking and being so stressed about finances at that time, because here I was about to go to college and Black Beauty dies, and I'm like, well, shit, now what do I do? If I want a car for college, I need to make a leap, right? And so I bought my first car, Princess Consuela. Princess Consuela was Black Beauty's replacement, and Princess Consuela was a trusty little Honda Civic, and Princess Consuela was another car that was a bit of a dumper. I paid, I believe it was $8,000 cash for it. I saved up, and I was really excited. I had, worked a lot growing up, and the $8,000 was a majority of what I had saved at that time. I was like, wow, this is going to be, this is a tough bullet to bite. It was quite literally the most expensive thing I'd ever bought, Princess Consuela. Black Beauty was, a $500 crappy purchase. I was like, woo, a car for $500, this is awesome. And Princess Consuela was my first jump into like a real car. And it cost me, I think, $8,000 cash, something like that. So it was a huge stretch for me. And I remember being so anxious about the financial part of it and like how much that was depleting my bank account. And you know what? When I first sat in Princess Consuela, it all disappeared. And I was like, you know what? I get to live the life that Princess Consuela is going to drive me to. Well, fast forward a few years later, and unfortunately, even though I wanted Princess Consuela to literally take to the grave with me, Princess Consuela I slammed into the back of a different car and I totaled her. And I sobbed over the fact, not that I got into a car accident, but because I killed Princess Consuela. My grandpa literally, I towed the car to my grandpa's house, and he was like, oh my goodness, Melissa, why are you crying? And I was like, Papu, I killed Princess Consuela. And he turns to my mom and he goes, Dina, stop it, you're making your daughter cry. And I was like, no, she's not. I'm just so sad about Princess Consuela. I killed her. And so I immediately, this was over a 7-day spring break. So I had driven down from Buffalo, New York for spring break to my parents' house. I was going to get a haircut at my aunt's salon, and I slammed into the car in front of me, totaled my car, and I had 4 days before I had to be back at school to purchase a new car. Many of you know that when we're in college, we are not the richest peeps. And it was an incredibly difficult pill for me to swallow to have to purchase I ended up paying $10,000 for my next car, which was Margarita, the sexy bitch. Margarita took me took me to the next level, because when I killed Princess Consuela, I am now in college, a poor college student, and I needed to purchase a new car. I could go to a dumper. I found a real good dumper, but I was like, do I downgrade myself to this dumper, or do I upgrade myself to the next car? And I chose to upgrade myself to the next car. And that's when me and Margarita met. And I got to purchase my first $10,000 car. And Margarita was my trusty seed for quite some time. And do you guys see where I'm kind of going with this? And then or Margarita ended up dying. Her brakes went. And so just last June, this is really the highlight to the story, last June, John and I ended up at the Hyundai dealer at 6 p.m. on a Friday with a weekend of 12-hour day work, multiple open houses, multiple showings, and we were like, this happens at 5 p.m. on a Friday. Do we rent a car? Do we Uber around all day tomorrow, toting around 20 real estate signs, or do we go buy a car? So we ended up at the Hyundai dealership, and in my mind, I really wanted a sunroof. That was my number one requirement and only requirement for a car. I am easy to please. But Margarita had this beautiful sunroof, and I was really insistent on a sunroof. So John and I went in with a budget of $17K, which is what we had saved. We were not planning on buying a car at the time, but we had like a savings account for the car. So we go in with like a mindset of 15, 17 being a stretch, and I'm looking at all these $17,000 cars, and I'm really grumpy, to be honest. Like, John's like, babe, you gotta kind of brighten up. And I'm like, ugh, I just don't like all of these cars. And here I am, sad and teary because Margarita is no longer with us all of a sudden at 5 o'clock on a Friday. And we're walking around this Hyundai dealership looking at all these used cars that are the same caliber as our prior Honda. And I turned to John and I said, babe, we're beyond this. What happens when in 6 months we absolutely crush it? Are we going to be back here at this same location, the same dealership, looking for our upgraded car in 6 months when we realize that we have the capabilities to buy it? I was like, I'm not enrolled in any of these dumpy cars. Like, I'm just not feeling it. And I was really unenthused. Like, I was kind of being a grumpy brat about it. I'm not gonna lie. I was being a total brat. So we go in and I'm like, to the guy who's helping us, Jamie, who's since become a really great friend. So Jamie, we're gonna help him buy a house soon. But Jamie, he takes us into his office and I'm like, Jamie, listen, can you run our finances and see what we would qualify for if we were to pay monthly payments and not just pay cash? So he comes back and he's like, holding this piece of paper and he's like, hey, you guys, you qualify for anything on the lot. And I'm like, oh, dude, we got to get back out there. So I'm all stoked, and we're looking at these cars, and I'm like, I want to see the ones with the sunroof, because up to that point, nothing in the 15 to 17K had a sunroof, let me tell you. They were not super cute. So the fully loaded model had the sunroof, and it was an epic sunroof. It's like a full hood roof almost. And I was like, oh, I was in love. I was like, there's Onyx, the next car. I'm really crazy about naming things. So I was like, John, that's it. I was like, we got to do it. Well, needless to say, it was more than double our initial price point, almost triple. However, that night when we left, it was like we were riding off of that lot in our new trusty Steed. We were like, what? This is like so awesome. We can't wait to drive our clients around. Like, it boosted us from this type of car to like this type of car. And we got out of that parking lot and it was like, you couldn't even hear it because it's a hybrid and it like jutted on the highway and we were like stoked. My seat was warm. I was like, this is luxurious. I could get used to this. So, long story short, could we afford it at that time? No. But what we did was we changed our mindset about money and we leveled it up. We decided that that was the car for us. It was not the economical choice. It was not the smart decision. It's not what my brain was telling me. But when my gut saw Onyx, it was like, yes, that's the car. And you get to create a lifestyle that supports that car. And that's the lesson to be learned. When you stretch yourself and you set your sights on something that you really want, whether it be a car or a house or losing 20 pounds or cutting out sugar, whatever it may be, you get to commit to doing whatever it is or to buying whatever it is and then figuring out the way to pay for it and adjusting your lifestyle to do so. You get to totally create the life that you want to live. Now, did John and I have, 40 plus K to toss at a car? Absolutely not. But could we afford the monthly payment? Yes. And could we, hop up our lifestyle to account for that monthly payment? Absolutely. And that car, Onyx, gave us such an ego boost and just like such a powerful push in the right direction because we felt so awesome driving around in that car that it made, maybe even subconsciously, but I think consciously, it boosted our confidence. It got us more excited to show up at our appointments. It was exciting to drive. We'd blast music and then arrive at a buyer's meeting and crush it and get back in the car and be like, yes, like, I love this car. And so we adjusted our lifestyle to account for what we wanted. And that's kind of the message that I'm bringing to you in the story of my cars, is that every single time I advanced and kind of leveled up my vehicle, even though it was an incredible stretch and it scared the shit out of me, I'm not gonna lie, every single time I stretched myself, that scariness doesn't go away, that fear doesn't disappear, but it's given me the opportunity to, every time I've leveled up, just create a lifestyle that supports the level that I'm now playing at. I get to choose my mindset and shift it and then adjust so that I can fulfill what it is that I want in life. So I just wanted to come to you guys with that message. John and I have literally never stretched ourselves to a point where we can't fulfill the life. Like, we stretch ourselves this big and then we achieve it and then we stretch ourselves this big, and now I literally feel like we're stretched like this much and it's like, oh, like I literally am in constant just like stretchiness. And my coach once told me, if it's not, he was like, what's your goal? And I was like, this is what it is. And he's like, is that stretchy enough for you? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, does it make your butthole pucker? And I was like, wow, that's a good analogy of stretchiness. So that is literally how I feel on a daily basis when I wake up and I'm addressing my goals and I'm crushing it and I'm adjusting my lifestyle and I'm leveling myself up constantly. It may be a little bit TMI, but sometimes my butthole puckers because I am stretching beyond what I ever thought capable. So, as you guys are embarking on this year, do not sell yourself short. Do not hold yourself back. And don't be in the mindset that you can't or don't or no or not or but. No, cut that bullshit out. You can, you will do, you get to achieve, you can, and, or, absolutely. Do you see how we did that? So when it comes time to leveling up and you're presented with a gift from the universe of a car crash or a brakes going or something that causes something that could be interpreted as a huge inconvenience, shift that and choose it as a blessing, because the universe is forcing you to level your shit up, and you get to. I love you guys. Hope you're having a stellar Thursday. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate all you guys out there. Who's out there right now? I see that Jason had joined at some point. Chris, I think you're out there. Anyways, say hi. Love you guys, and hope you're having a fantastic first week of this year. I am clearly very energetic. And, oh, hey, Paul, thanks for watching. You are just always out there. Thank you, my friend. You are such a great, I'm really appreciative and grateful to you for always watching my videos. Thank you. Oh, and April, hey, love her. April is our virtual assistant. She's in the Philippines, and she is amazing. I love her, and I'm so excited that she's watching right now. All right, you guys, I'm going to sign off. I got to get back to work. Got to get back to my time block. I'm 8 minutes behind schedule. Love you guys. We'll talk soon.